Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we will be reading yet again some juicy Reddit stories. And for today's video, we will be diving into some petty revenge on a-hole neighbors. Alright, so our first story was posted by Original Deadly Sin. I can't pick my neighbors, but I can pick their lock. Back in the far off days of 2002, I lived in a duplex. The people in the other half of the duplex complained to the landlord all the time for nothing. As in, I was once woken up at 2 a.m. by my landlord calling to say that the neighbors reported me having a crazy loud party and keeping them awake. I was sleeping and I was alone. There were no lights on, there was nothing making noise, aside from the fact that I snore. Basically, she complained about both petty and made up things constantly. There's your background. So, on the property was a shed with a landlord supplied electric lawn mower. I mowed my half one day and thought, what the hell, let's do their half too. However, the cord didn't reach to their whole yard from my outlet, so I plugged into their outlet for the last 10% of their side of the lawn. Next day, she threw a fit at me that I used her electricity. A long fit, a loud fit. I pretty much shook my head, threw my hands up, and walked away from it. I used pennies of your electricity to mow your own lawn. I don't even expect gratitude. It's a small unasked favor, but why bite my head off over it? The next day, she got someone on her side installing those clear boxes over her two outlets with padlocks on them. Clearly a normal response. Petty revenge begins here. I take a gander when she's not home. Those locks are clearly the cheapest locks they could find at Walmart. I go to Walmart and buy two identical ones. They were like $6. One of my hobbies is lock picking. I'm absolutely not a master and I'm probably not even good. But I sure as heck can open the cheapest padlocks ever made in seconds. I replace the locks with my own, and it looks exactly the same. Took a few weeks, but looking out my window one day to see her with an overgrown lawn and hearing her slamming a hammer against the clear boxes for a half hour made all the frustration worthwhile. Next time, shut up and take the favor. I absolutely love this. It's so petty, it's so simple. And it's genius. Now, other people are commenting that he should have called the landlord and complained about the hammering and saying she's tearing up the duplex with it. I'm watching her beat on the electric outlets right now. I mean, that. You should have done that as well. You should have gone a level up with your revenge. But anyway, I absolutely love this one. Let's go ahead and read our next story, which was posted by White Van Man C. Steal my stuff, I'll steal your door. A friend of mine had issues with one of his neighbors. They were noisy, continuously drunk, or stoned. Believed they were untouchable, stole really minor things like potted plants, bins, benches, garden furniture, basically anything that was easily moved and not screwed down. After many times of lifting the fence panels up and taking back the items that they took, he got annoyed with the balls on them and the lack of any real police response. In the middle of the summer, they had a habit of having parties, loud music till all hours, and generally scum roaming around the local area causing trouble. My mate had nipped home during his break and noticed that the front door was open and one of the parties was going on in the rear of the house. At that time, he worked as a day laborer for independent carpenter. A plan was hatched. They opened the rear doors of the plain white van. He ran over with an impact driver and proceeded to remove the screws from the hinges and steal the door and throw it in the van and drive off. Plan accomplished, they dumped the door in an on-site skip. When he returned that evening, the door was still missing, was replaced the next morning with a pallet with a mattress stuck behind it. That's quite ratchet. Eventually, someone probably stole a piece of chipboard and that was screwed in place. And the first comment says, "This is truly unhinged," and I agree. Imagine stealing a door while a party is happening. That's the entryway to crime, but it's adorable. You have opened new doors of opportunities for revenge. All right, so our third story for today is another short one. And it was posted by Killjoy2408. I cost my neighbors over $100,000. My neighbors have 9 cars total parked in the street. They always park two of those cars in front of my house and won't move them the whole week. We have a regulation that you can't leave your parked car for more than 48 hours in the same spot. My neighbors have a pretty big driveway where they can fit 4 cars, but that's always empty. They have told me they don't like to leave their driveway with cars because it looks tacky. Over half the cars they have, they don't even use. They just use them to save parking spots for themselves. In 2021, I noticed they were building a second unit in the back of their main house. I noticed that they completed the house in under a month. This raised some red flags because it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 months, with city inspections taking the majority of the time. I submitted a ticket with my city through the app and advised them that there might be some illegal residential building without permits. I didn't think of it much until a year later. I noticed my neighbors tearing down their second unit. Word got around our block that a city inspector was there making sure everything was being torn down. Based on the materials and labor they put into their second unit, I cost them over $100,000. Good job. Good job, OP. The driveway thing sounds stupid. Never thought of it being tacky to have cars parked in a driveway unless the cars are beaters. Wow, who would spend that much money and not get permits? Exactly. I hope you reported them for their vehicles also. Yeah, I mean, you did cost them a lot of cash. However, was your problem solved? That's what I want to know. Did it solve your driveway problem? Okay, so our fourth story of the day was posted by I Nom Nom Awesome. I reported my annoying neighbor until he moved. I just want peace and quiet and to be left alone. Same. I'm in my late 20s and live alone, and I really hate kids. My neighborhood is a group of separate houses without yards that are spaced close to each other. I've lived here for 5 years by myself, and it's perfect. Everything that I've ever wanted. No yards to take care of, and no kids around making noise. The houses share a large T shaped cement driveway, and none of us have ever interacted with each other. We come and go, stay quiet, and mind our own business. There's a small park down the street with grass for those who want it, literally a 30-second walk away. About a year ago, a guy with a lot of little kids moved into my neighborhood. As always, I just drove past him like everyone else and closed my garage. Never spoke to him, no problem. Over time, he started making himself at home. He would park his large truck in the motor court, which has a sign saying it's illegal because it's a fire lane. It would block his neighbor's garage across from him. He would set up lawn chairs in front of his neighbor's garage and have the little kids out there running and screaming right in front of people's houses and garages. So we would have to listen to it and then try not to run over the children as we back our cars out of the garages. He would rev his motorcycle at 8 a.m. on a Saturday and wake up the neighborhood. When his kids would be blocking the driveway, they'd take their sweet time moving. Because of this, I did one simple thing. When I would come home every day and drive past around them, I wouldn't wave back when he waved at me. Ooh, how that hurt his pride. He should have left it at that, but no, he had to press the issue. This is getting juicy. So he started waving more. and then shouting at me as I drove past, and then telling his kids to stop and stand and wave at me as I always drove past and ignored them all. Until eventually he didn't like how I drove around his kids that were in the way, even though I always drive at a safe or slow speed there. So he tried to confront me. He shouted at my car, then came to my garage as I was already getting out of the car and had the garage closing. So it closed right in his face without me ever looking at him. He didn't like that. So he immediately walked to my front door, saw that I had a doorbell camera, and turned around and walked away. Couple days later, coming home, he was crossing the driveway as I arrived, and because he had told the kids to stop and wave at me, the dipshit stopped in the middle. He stood in my way to block my car while trying to get the kid to move. So I honked for 3 seconds right in his face until he did. That was our last interaction, and I decided he's annoyed me enough. I don't actually care about any of the rules, but I decided to use them all to report him endlessly for every violation I knew of, using my dashcam on my car for screenshots with evidence. His parking in the motor court stopped after they gave him a ticket. He had to throw out the child's playhouse he had set up next to this garage. I kept reporting him for having an open garage door that I don't really care about, in order to get him to have to stop hanging out in the motor court and, oh, I don't know, use his brain and take the kids down the street to the park. It only took 4 months of reporting him repeatedly and he just moved out. TLDR, my neighbor was being a jackass, so I reported him for HOA violations. I don't actually care about until he finally gave up and moved away. Oh my god. Honestly, OP, I'm impressed. I'm very impressed with the motivation and the patience that you have. It took 4 months of reporting. And you clearly succeeded. So, congratulations. I don't know why, but I feel so proud of you. I've lived next to my neighbor for 8 years. I don't even know his name. We're cool though. We did a head nod about 6 months ago. Great guy. I had a neighbor I never spoke to. The first time we did was cause he brought in a package left at the door for me. We lived in apartments. Thanked him and told him I'd do the same if he liked. Alright, so our fifth story for the day. This was posted by a deleted account. Neighbors didn't give a shit about my sick dad, so I didn't give a shit about their renovation. Hi guys, I'm a silent lurker in the sub and thought I shared a small story of mine. My parents and I lived right next to each other in what we in Germany call a Reihenhauser. Anyway, one of our neighbors is doing a big renovation on his house and has workers and trailers all over the street the whole day. That's not really a problem, but me and my dad also told them it's no problem for them to use our driveways for the trailers slash wagons at daytimes when we are gone, just so they can keep the street clear. That's very kind of you. Now, my dad, 72, got diagnosed with renal colic and needed surgery. Everything went good, but he's not that mobile at the moment and needs to use his car a lot. Normally, he goes by bike or just walks. So I went over to our neighbor and told him my dad needs his spot regularly for the foreseeable future, so he can't put his trailer there anymore. Everything seemed good and he understood it. It took him 3 days till he put his empty trailer back on my dad's driveway when he was out of the house, and 2 days later, he didn't even remove it for the night. Maybe I should have tried to speak to our neighbor again, but I didn't. My friends and family say I have a short fuse and get mad really fast at unimportant stuff. That might be true, but I just can't stand bullshit slash ignorant people when it's regarding simple stuff like, please stop blocking my sick dad's driveway. So by the second time I came home from work and saw that empty trailer again blocking my dad's driveway, I waited for the night to see if he moves it, but he didn't. So at 1 a.m., I got up and walked over to my dad's driveway, removed the brake from the trailer, and just pulled it out of the driveway and just started walking down the street out into the fields with it. We live right at the border of the city to the surrounding wheat fields. I pulled that trailer around a mile away into the fields, easy to spot for everyone who's walking or driving by. That's now 3 weeks ago, and since then, my dad's driveway never had a trailer on it again. The trailer is not big, maybe the size of 2 to 3 wheelbarrows. Okay, so this was very petty, very simple. I loved it. Also I wish your dad gets better soon. I'm so sorry that he has to go through this. The comment says, I was slightly confused and wondering why the fuck someone would mess with a dude swole enough to drag a fucking trailer with their bare hands. Then I saw the photo. There's a photo. Where's the photo? There's no. If I find the photo, I'm going to post it here too. I forget that words like trailer have different connotations. I'm from the UK and was imagining the same sort of thing that OP described, but that is definitely not a given. When OP mentioned trailer, I thought about a huge trailer, like the one that you drive, the one that you park in trailer parks. You know, the mobile homes, those ones. I thought, I thought OP pulled that type of trailer manually across the field. Anyway, thank you so much for watching today's video. See you guys on my next one.